It's got to be the nicest 757 on the planet.
The plane is very much an extension of the Trump brand.
Donald Trump's Boeing 757 is one of the largest, most luxurious private jets in the world. This Boeing 757 is a sleek, narrow-bodied, long-legged beauty. And she's treated like the celebrity who owns her. Visitors at this private airfield can't resist gawking and taking photos. They must keep their distance, because like the billionaire tycoon who bought her, she commands respect. This is Donald Trump's private jet. A Boeing 757 that's a giant in its class.
Everything that they did on it is very, very spectacular. They've got large, high-thrust Rolls-Royce engines on it. It's got a very nice look to it. It's extremely fast for an airliner. It's a very, very fast airplane for a large airplane. It's extremely comfortable. It takes turbulence very, very well. It's kind of like the Ferrari in the airline category airplane.
Built to hold 228 passengers, this 757 is 3 times the size of the average private jet. 47 meters long, with a wingspan of 39 meters. The tail stands 14 meters high. She's one of the biggest privately owned corporate jets flying. Inside, the $100 million plane has enough gold that if melted down, could gold plate the outside of a Greyhound bus. Seatbelts, light sockets, decorative trim. The ceiling panels are ultra suede. The seats are high-grade leather. The cabinets are rare mahogany. The plane has a screening room that's the same size as a large home theater and equipped with a 57-inch TV. This 757 even has 2 bedrooms and a shower. Trump's signature line, "You're fired," is an unlikely possibility for the expert pilot, but Duncan is not taking any chances.
Well, I'm sure that if I damaged this airplane, you know, that probably would not be a good thing. And I'm not sure. I mean, you know, Mr. Trump's, he's a very fair man, but I'm sure there's something I could do that would upset him.
In 3 weeks, Trump needs to go to London to make a keynote address, and he wants a 757 to take him there. That's enough time for the safety check, but really tight for a series of cosmetic changes and upgrades that Trump wants done while the plane is in the shop.
Hello, this is John.
But John has no choice but to say yes. After clearing security, the billionaire tycoon boards the plane.
First thing I do when I get on this aircraft is look around for details. I always study the details. Cleanliness, I go up to the pilot, see how everything's going. I like to look at the cockpit. I want everything to be absolutely perfect. So, John, everything's good?
Everything's perfect, Mr. Trump.
All right, good.
Good.
Let's have a good flight.
All righty.
Thank you.
The plane not only feels like a Rolls-Royce on the inside, it's got 2 Rolls-Royce engines powering it, which was something Trump desperately wanted. The engines are the safest in the industry and the quietest in their class, meaning Trump can land the airplane even in noise-restricted airports.
One of the things very important to me on the Boeing 757 was the Rolls-Royce engines. They're special, they're really popular, the most popular, and frankly, I was happy to be able to get the one with the Rolls-Royce engines. We really wanted that.
With 40,000 pounds of thrust on each engine, the Rolls-Royces can propel this jet to 41,000 feet in just 20 minutes.
Yeah, cool. 1 to go.
Yes, sir, indeed.
John takes the 757 northward, from Palm Beach to New York. Gia Parolo is Donald Trump's personal flight attendant. She's been working for Mr. Trump since 2005.
This is a very short flight, so I'm just preparing some refreshments. We should be landing anytime soon.
In a plane that once held 228 passengers, there's lots of room for just one. With the 18 executive class seats, the 2 bedrooms, the media room, and a gourmet kitchen, Donald Trump is on top of the world. In 2 hours, they reach New York.
Flaps?
Flaps, I see 30 degrees.
30 degrees. Landing checklist complete. Clear to land.
Even with 2 shifts working around the clock, it's going to be a tight turnaround to guarantee a timely departure. The inspection is routine. The upgrades Trump has ordered are not. And Scott does not want to disappoint a client like Trump.
Well, we're doing a heavy structural inspection. We're doing interior upgrades. We're installing a Wi-Fi system. We're doing paint upgrades. We're doing a fuel tank modification.
He has just 3 weeks remaining to get it out the door in time for Trump's trip to the UK.
We've got a long way to go and a short time to get there.
The pressure is on to keep the standards top-notch while completing the maintenance inspection.
Donald Trump doesn't have a $100 million aircraft so he can charter. He wants his airplane and he wants it right.
The plane has been at standby for a week. Trump's personal pilot, John Duncan, arrives from Palm Beach to monitor the progress.
Anytime the airplane goes through any kind of a major inspection like that, I always like to be present. I like to make sure that things are going well, that they don't have any kind of questions.
And what John finds is that Trump's exquisite airplane is in pieces. The interior has been completely dismantled to install the new Wi-Fi system.
I definitely get a level of anxiety only because of the fact that I'm so cautious. I don't want anything to happen to it. The only thing I was going to watch for, Mike, was if we see any kind of scuffs that took
Trump's corporate carpenter, Mike Cotto, is accustomed to handling the details.
We'll start at the back, work ourselves forward once we start closing everything up. We're kind of the closers in the ball game. You know, at the end, they bring the guy in to close the game out. That's what we do.
Donald Trump wants the floor mat at his galley replaced because a seam in the middle of it has been offending his sense of flawlessness.
So I understand we're going to be able to solve that by relocating the seam around the corners. Is that correct?
That is correct.
We get extremely detailed when it comes to this. We want to make this absolutely perfect because Mr. Trump demands perfection.
The small details on the inside are keeping John busy, but he's now got a big problem on the outside. The engine nose cowls, which have been sent out to a subcontracting company for repair, haven't arrived. The nose cowl is the circular covering at the front of the engine. It directs air into the turbine and protects it from damage. The plane's not going anywhere without the nose cowls. Trump's nose cowls were sent out to be restored after hundreds of hours of flight.
Did you hear about the nose cowls?
I have not. The last thing I heard on it was supposed to be this week, but they haven't showed up yet. I haven't heard any updates on it.
The timing could not be worse.
Good afternoon, this is John.
Hi, John.
Hi, Rona, how you doing?
Very good. And you?
Great, thank you.
Good. John, I wanted to
Mr.
give
Trump's
you a little
VP and
update on
Chief
the
Assistant
work.
Rona Graff calls John to find out exactly when the jet will be ready to fly to
So I
LaGuardia
know
for Trump's
sure
trip to
that
the
he's
UK.
flying into London.
I've been working for Mr. Trump for over 2 decades, and I guess I'm what many people call his proverbial right arm.
What is the exact date that all of that is happening? What date will you bring it up to New York?
So as of right now, the 26th is the date that we plan on flying into LaGuardia.
Perfect. Very good.
Okay, Rona.
Trump has decided to change plans. Before London, he will go to Aberdeen, Scotland, to step up his promotional campaign for his newest golf course.
Up and taking you right to the venue.
Okay, good. So I'll be stopping there for 2 days. Then I'm going on to London, where I'm making a speech in front of a packed house, and that'll be on Sunday, and then we head right back to New York. So we're going to have an exciting few days.
The mission is now defined. The 757 will depart Brunswick for New York's LaGuardia Airport, where it will pick up Mr. Trump. It will then head for Aberdeen, Scotland for a 2-day stopover before reaching its final destination, London's Stansted Airport. Pilot John Duncan takes the changes in stride, but he knows Aberdeen, and it requires special attention.
It's one of the shorter strips that we operate in and out of. And so consequently, we want to make sure that our takeoff and landing weights are appropriate and exact for the safe operation in and out of that runway.
John adjusts his flight plans. The 757's modifications are almost done, so he heads back to Brunswick. The long-awaited nose cowls finally arrive.
They look fantastic. Did a beautiful job. Mesh looks nice and clean. Looks like brand new. A little added bonus. Does they? They did a nice
On
job.
first glance, everything looks perfect.
SBRR 4352. This one is a different count.
But suddenly, relief turns to concern.
4352.
Yeah.
The serial numbers don't match Trump's.
That's the one.
Different count.
I need the 2 serial numbers we sent and then the 2 we got.
Okay. All right, let's open this one up.
John anticipates that this will be trouble.
I know what's going to happen is we're going to have to get it. We're going to have to get ours, Scott, because Mr. Trump, he's adamant about that.
I need that.
He wants his parts on his airplane.
When you own important aircraft, especially one like a Boeing 757, you ideally want to keep all of those parts together, especially a plane like I have where there's so few hours on the plane. It's like a new plane, and you want to keep everything together. You don't want lots of switches and changes.
Let me tell him that.
The question John and Scott need to figure out is, if the nose cowls that were delivered today aren't Trump's, where exactly are they?
Hey, Rick, this is Scott. So we think we don't have the correct nose cowl here. It is overhauled, but we know the Trumps want to put the exact same ones back on there because of their low time.
Okay, my concern is that the nose cowl that belongs to us has actually been overhauled and is sitting there in the shop. And that is simply we send this back and have them send ours.
That's the best scenario, that we can swap them out. Worst case is that's on a, an American Airlines airplane or somebody else's airplane flying at 40,000 feet right now.
Exactly. That would not be good.
No. Rick's saying that couldn't have been a mix-up because these are the only two 757 nose cowls that they had in the shop at this time.
Oh, good.
So there's no way possible for it to mix up. It is a Trump cowl.
I'm breathing a big sigh of relief. It looks right now like it was a paperwork issue as far as the nose cowl serial number was concerned, rather than the actual cowl itself. So that makes me feel a lot better. We get back on track, get that second cowl hung.
With the exterior pieces falling in place, John now turns his attention to reassembling the 757's dismantled interior.
Have you got any more white gloves?
I do, right
Great.
here.
Great, I need them.
The reassembly is a delicate procedure, and the pressure's on to get it done before takeoff tomorrow.
No smudges on the wood, no scratches, no nicks. This is what you call hands-on.
You gotta be very cautious. Just even when it gets hot and you kind of get sweaty, just moving through the aircraft sometimes, if you don't watch your head, you drag it on those sidewall panels, it'll smudge it up, make it nasty.
Or even a drip of sweat. A drip of sweat could fall down on something, on a piece of leather or fabric. Well, you guys watch your feet on those. I'm gonna turn that up. Everybody get crucified. So make sure this all lines up. This is real critical where this seam is right here, that everything comes together and it's nice and straight.
You don't want nothing to get damaged. It's high-end quality furniture, and it's for Donald Trump, so you don't want nothing. You want it perfect when it leaves out of here.
No wires, no plug-ins, and you got your clips too.
Panel by panel, the interior is reassembled.
Let's get these back there.
The protective plastic sheets are removed, revealing a lot of dirt and dust.
What do you think, Daryl?
I think we're ready to proceed.
All righty.
John works with Daryl Thomas, ground operations supervisor, to scrub the plane to perfection.
I'm ready for the spots. It's a brand spanking new toothbrush and a new can of air. All right. And I want to make sure that the grain is all in the correct direction and that it's perfectly clean from dust and grime and dirt. Mr. Trump has got an incredible vision. He's got an eagle eye, so even a slightest, smallest little dot he will notice.
I want the plane to be immaculate. I don't want dust. I want everything polished. I want it to be in absolute showroom or mint condition. And the word mint condition is a term my father used to use. If he looked at an apartment, he'd say, this is mint condition. Well, that's what I want the plane, showroom or mint condition.
Of all the foreseeable events that could legitimately ruin John's departure plans, it all comes down to an unfinished floor mat.
So when is the plane ready?
The only we're waiting on right now is Mike Cotto. I'll double check on him, but as soon as he gets off the airplane, we're ready to go. Okay, I told him that we'd be ready to leave here in like minutes, but that's not going to be the case. I didn't know Cotto needed that much time.
2 hours.
Yeah, he said he needs 2 more hours.
Okay.
Never fails. Mike.
Yes, sir.
Did I hear the rumor correctly that it's 2 more hours?
You can either get it right or you can get it now. You just can't get it right now.
Quality is more important than speed, so let's make it perfect.
Absolutely.
So?
But the clock is ticking.
How many people will be at the speech in London?
They expect over 20,000 people. It's going to be a huge crowd.
Wow.
After a 2.5-hour holdup, the job is complete.
We're done. It's a wrap. They use you, they get what you want, and they throw you off. But they always call us back. That's the biggest thing.
Got fuel on the airplane. We're going to do a quick security check right now, and we'll be out of here on our way to New York. Right, you're up.
Executive Chef Chris Devine sets a high standard for airline food.
Sugar snap peas.
Chef is cooking for just 4 passengers tonight. But even for this late-night snack, he goes all out.
A lobster salad, a Gulf shrimp cocktail, a roast turkey breast, roast sirloin of beef, and our house-made corned beef. Delicious. We also have homemade cookies and some mixed green salad. I guess you should have the salad before the cookies.
Mr. Trump is watching the presidential debate at the office on TV and refuses to budge until it's over, jeopardizing the takeoff before midnight.
Well, it's kind of up to them. I mean, it's just totally up to the Port Authority. Unfortunately, I don't control it.
And he doesn't control the weather either.
Changeman, please. Changeman.
Robert McAdams is the general manager of Sheltair, the private terminal where Trump's 757 parks when at LaGuardia.
The weather today has not been conducive for air travel. You had fog, you had shifting winds, the airport changed runway configurations a few times, so all this adds to delayed flights.
The runway is jammed with backlogged planes, and the ones that aren't in the air by midnight are grounded. Trump needs to be in the air before airport shutdown, and it's up to John to make that happen.
You stay in the car, and then I'll bring the boss, Don Jr., back to the car, and then you guys go to the staging area and come out to the ramp.
They have just half an hour to get Mr. Trump through the private security gate, into the plane, and up in the air.
We'll have an engine almost running, so the second he steps foot on the airplane, we're ready to start those engines and taxi out. The other option is just not happening. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to talk about it. We're going to go.
Done.
Okay. All right.
Done deal.
Sounds good. Let's go make this happen.
All right. And also, please have staff standing by the belt loader in case of any last-minute luggage from the motorcade. Copy? It has to happen. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Otherwise, Mr. Trump will be very, very upset if he's not in the air tonight before midnight.
Running out of room.
After struggling to get to New York, it now looks to John like the Trump 757 might spend the night on the airfield. Just in the nick of time.
Good evening, Mr. Trump. How are you? Nice to see you.
Donald Trump Jr., an executive vice president of the Trump Organization, is flying with his father tonight, as is George Soriano, a company top executive.
Start to right.
At this point, it's a race against the clock.
He said 7 minutes, now it's like 5 or 6 minutes ago, so I think we're going right after this guy.
With just 5 minutes to spare, they're given clearance for takeoff.
B1, rotate. Right.
You're up.
Here coming.
It's great to be on board. We're going to have a nice trip. We're flying over the Atlantic. We land in Scotland in about 5 hours, and then we go on to London. It's going to be a nice trip.
With all as it should be, he can now settle in for some late-night business with Don Jr.
You want to say sign your contract or we have to just put the car out?
With his speech behind him, Mr. Trump is ready for home.
That was amazing. The London crowd was great. I had a good time.
It was an exhausting day, and Donald Trump retires to his bedroom. And it's now John's turn to get to work.
It's a great airplane. It's probably one of the best 757s built, probably one of the best corporate airplanes built. It's an absolute joy to fly. It's a spectacular airplane. I truly enjoy it. We'll be in New York in about 6 hours, and we won't be there for long, though. The T-Bird likes to fly, and there's a lot more that Mr. Trump has to do, so another day or two, we'll be back on the road again for yet another mission. It's just a real pleasure, and it's a fun job. I really enjoy it, all aspects of it.